The cafeteria buzzed with laughter and the metallic clatter of trays. It was just another afternoon at Fort Sterling, a base known for its discipline, but not necessarily for its manners. And when a quiet woman in civilian clothes stepped into the room carrying a file marked, "Secure as only," every head turned. At the far end, a group of Navy SEALs noticed her immediately, one of them tall, broad-shouldered, and grinning with that unmistakable mix of arrogance and charm, leaned back in his chair and called out, "Hey, miss, you lost? This isn't the visitor's center." A few chuckles rippled across the room. The woman didn't respond. She simply continued walking, calm, composed, her boots clicking in measured rhythm. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening." The SEAL wasn't finished. "Wait," he said, smirking. "At least tell us your rank before you sit with the big boys." That did it. The room erupted in laughter.
Even the sergeant
At the counter tried to hide a smile. The woman stopped mid-step, turned, and for the first time, looked directly at him. Her gaze was steady, the kind that didn't rise to anger, just waited for silence to fall. It did, slowly, uncomfortably. Then she said quietly, "You want my rank, Lieutenant?" Classified clearance level red. "Does that answer your question?" The words landed like a spark in dry air. The laughter died instantly. The SEAL's grin faltered. Level red clearance, that wasn't a joke. Only the highest-ranking operatives in Joint Command carried that status, usually attached to covert missions no one dared discuss aloud. The silence that followed wasn't ordinary. It was the kind that made people sit up straighter, suddenly aware they might have crossed a line they couldn't uncross. She didn't wait for a reaction. She walked to the head table, placed her file down, and looked toward the commanding officer who had just entered the room. He gave her a subtle nod, one that carried both respect and recognition. "Welcome back, Commander Hale," he said. Every chair in the cafeteria scraped backward at once as soldiers stood instinctively to attention. The SEAL who had spoken looked as if the air had been punched from his chest. Commander Avery Hale." The ghost name whispered across units. The one tied to a mission so classified it was only known by its code, Operation Duskline. Rumors said she'd led a team deep into enemy territory 2 years ago, after a reconnaissance mission went wrong. She'd brought her people back, every one of them, though no one ever learned how. And yet here she was, standing in front of them like any other soldier, waiting for a tray of coffee. The officer at her side cleared his throat. "Commander Hale will be leading the fleet integration program effective immediately. All special units will now report to her." The CAL's face turned pale. It just mocked the woman who now outranked every person in the room, but Avery didn't gloat. She didn't look for apology or validation. Instead, she turned to him and said softly, "Relax, Lieutenant. Mistakes are how we learn who people really are." He swallowed hard, then nodded. "Ma'am." What no one knew was that Avery had faced far worse than mockery. 2 years ago, she stood in a war room much like this one, surrounded by men who questioned her ability to lead, to command. They doubted her until the night she volunteered for a rescue mission everyone else had declared impossible. Her call sign that night? Iron Wraith. And it was that mission that saved 37 lives, including the brother of the very man now standing before her, too ashamed to meet her eyes. The tension in the room slowly softened. Avery's tone did too. "What matters," she said, "is not who laughs first, but who stands last when the noise fades." She opened the classified folder and slid a set of documents across the table. "You're all on my next task force. Welcome to Project Resolute." The officer beside her raised an eyebrow. "I'll follow you anywhere, Commander." Avery smiled faintly. "They'll follow the mission. That's all I need." As she left the cafeteria, the same SEAL who'd mocked her stepped forward. "Commander Hale," he called out. She paused. I'm sorry for what I said." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, the steel in her demeanor gave way to warmth. "Apology accepted, Lieutenant. Just remember, respect isn't given to the uniform. It's earned by how you treat people before you know who they are." When she walked out, the room remained silent. The SEAL sat down slowly, staring at the untouched tray before him, round him. Conversations began again, but now with lowered voices, thoughtful, almost reverent. They'd seen power before, loud, commanding, brash. But this was different. This was power that moved quietly, with purpose. And by the time the next day's orders arrived, one thing was certain. No one at Fort Sterling would ever forget the name Commander Avery Hale, because respect, once lost, can be rebuilt. And true authority doesn't shout, it simply stands, unshaken, because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And somewhere beyond the mess hall, as the sun dipped behind the base walls, Avery's reflection caught in the glass, the same calm eyes that had once stared down chaos, and she smiled, knowing she'd earned not just silence, but understanding. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Whispered Words, where courage speaks quietly, but never goes unheard. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love hearing your story too.